morning. Good morning. I forgot how short that intro was. Oh.
It's a Bunny Show live with our host and resident sex expert, Bunny.
We're such dorks. When you have your own show, you can do whatever you want, right? Good morning. I'm sorry. Our grocery delivery timing was off this morning. I swear we were ready. It was just everything else just wasn't, but that's okay. How is everybody this morning? We're doing great. Yeah. Now we're going to talk about something super depressing, and that's feminism. I'm pretty excited about it. I'm hoping to shed a little bit of light this morning on feminism, the destructive nature of it, how we can kind of overcome it. Hopefully all of this stuff that will help everyone have a little bit more fulfilling life. One thing that I want to right off the bat point out about feminism and girls is that almost all girls, no matter how they are raised, go through at least a phase of kind of a feminist phase, just a little bit. That doesn't mean they dye their hair funky colors. It doesn't mean that they get weird piercings and tattoos. I just mean it's a mindset that all of us go through at some point, usually high school, college age. You know, you're doing all of this work, you're dealing in the sexual marketplace to an extent, you're thinking about jobs, and it's just a natural progression to have kind of a phase of feminism in your life. Now, where that can be knocked down is by a strong father and or a strong boyfriend, husband, fiance, whatever the case may be. A strong man in a girl's life will nip that in the bud immediately. I remember I was having a discussion with my father, and I've shared this story before. If you've heard it, just stick with me. It all fits. Where we were talking about something pseudo-political, which is odd because I'm not really a political person, but my father is very well versed in things going on about the world. And I was kind of having a feminist kind of slant to my opinion that I was giving. And he stopped me right in my tracks, and he said, in my experience, and he's always been in a corporate environment. He spent a lot of time at the upper echelons of corporate retail in the executive suite. And so he's been around a lot of really high-powered, high-quality women in his life. And he said, in my experience, women who are excellent at business fail as wives and mothers. Women who are great at being wives and mothers and prioritize their family are not great employees. So I think the two just there has to be a balance there. But understand that whenever my father said that to me, I realized I knew I wanted to be a wife and a mom. But I didn't necessarily see myself as being, queen of some big corporation or whatnot, or being a boss babe or whatever it was called at the time. Because I realized in that moment that I had to make a choice as to what was really the most important to me and the kind of life that I wanted to lead. So feminism defined is just advocacy on the basis that there's equality between the sexes. This is the most simplified version of feminism you can possibly have. And that's why I appreciate it. I'm not going to get into the different waves of feminism. I'm not going to get into a timeline. We are going to approach feminism today based on the destructive nature on relationships, attraction, marriage, and family. Okay, so we're not going to get into all ways that feminism has affected the world and your girls, but we will talk about it in relation to kind of our usual train of thought. So in a nutshell, feminism gives women the right to vote, equal access to education, the right to be employed, the right to own property, and equal pay for equal work. Now, let's circle back to all of those. The right to vote. Once a woman is in a relationship, or when a woman has a strong male presence in her life, she will more times than not bend her political beliefs and her voting to what he suggests, what he teaches, because he oftentimes, when he's sharing his political feelings, his findings on things, whether it's a specific vote that's up right now that, you know, we need to get out and vote and we need to vote in this way, whether there are signs around because it's voting season, or whether it's just happenings in the world that have a political slant, which anymore it seems everything has a political slant. She will tailor her belief system to what the man in front of her has to say about it. As long as he can lead and have a great argument or rationale behind this belief system, if she is interested, if she trusts him, if she believes what he says, that will become her belief system. Now, the bonus of this is it gives you 2 votes, you know. So if she votes the way that you vote, it gives you 2 votes. It's a win-win. My father literally prints out the ballot on each voting or election season and highlights for my mother who they're voting for in each and every single race, and each and every addendum, or, you know, citywide vote, or any of these taxation votes that come through all the time. Because my mom does not keep her finger on the pulse of what's going on politically, or what the legal jargon in the ballot has to say about this addendum or that new bill, but he lets her know. So my father actually gets 2 votes and my mom gets none. Everyone wins in this scenario because she's not making votes based on her feelings at the time and her under her limited understanding of what's going on in the world and the worldwide ramifications of her opinions, her political opinions. Equal access to education. Now, I will say, I believe that college and finishing schools, things of that nature, these are actually designed, more often than not, they are designed for the sake of women to find high quality men while those women are in their prime years. So beyond college, literally, it's kind of like driving a new car off the lot. As soon as she graduates from college, her value starts to decline because of the age that she is and the stage of life in a normal timeline of schooling. Whenever a female is of undergrad graduation age, she has reached her peak of femininity, oftentimes, of attractiveness, of beauty, of health, of vibrance, of energy. you know, she has peaked. So if she's getting out of university years and has not yet nailed down a husband to be, this is a problem. This means that from now until she is able to, it's going to be subpar options for her. It's not going to be the best man that she possibly could have gotten otherwise, because she is not at her peak of beauty and attractiveness and appeal and sexuality and fertility. So think of all of these things, and that is why there is still an importance on girls attending university. Now, then there's the argument. I actually attended a private school for college, and there's a lot of school debt that goes with that. But there's also a lot higher echelon of men at these private universities than there are at most state schools. So keep all of this in mind. You know, this applies more to your daughters, let's say. You know, you don't actually maybe believe that she's going to be a nurse, let's say, just for picking something out of the hat. But she's going to go to school, and she's going to go to 4 years, and she's going to get a 4-year degree of some kind. Primarily, this gives her the best exposure to high quality men while she's in her prime, so that you are setting your daughter up for great success in her future and for your grandchildren. So all of these things apply, and they're affected by feminism. So feminist agendas allowing us as females to have equal opportunities to education allows us to have, actually now in today's world, better opportunities to meet high quality men. The right to own property, and I don't really have a strong opinion about that. The right to be employed. This is where women need to err on the side of more feminine jobs, not hyper masculine jobs. You know, there are women who are drawn into law, to be attorneys, to be judges. They're drawn to other more masculine, argumentative jobs and careers. And those really go against feminine nature, because as a female, we are actually created to be the man's helper. And I mean one man's helper. I'm not saying like the world. We're created to be a man's helper and to care and nurture and create our children, to bring them up and to create a home for all of you. So to have a job that robs her of her femininity is just giving the feminist agenda a leg up. Now, there are the rare women who can be boss babes in the office, in the corporate world, even in the upper echelons of philanthropy and nonprofit stuff. That is still very much an executive powerhouse position. There are women who can be badasses at work, but as long as they are feminine, fun, relaxed, empathetic, nurturing at home, that's an incredible balance that not many are able to strike, especially not over the long haul. So just keep all of these things in mind. There's a lot of stuff that I'm just going to be throwing at you. I feel like it's all cohesive in the grand umbrella of things, but it may not necessarily seem like it right now. It all is stuff that you need to keep in mind, whether it is in balancing your own relationships, in your raising of daughters, and just whether you're dating, whether you're already married. These are things to keep in mind. I believe that feminism has very much ruined females because it's just robs us of that vulnerability that we are supposed to have. We're supposed to have a delicacy. We're supposed to have a femininity. But whenever we are expected through feminism to be everything, to be high-powered wage earners, while also maybe being moms or maybe not, being married or not being married, but doing it all and having it all and excelling at it all is actually incredibly detrimental to our health and is causing women to be less happy, less satisfied with their lives in general as a whole, less apt to give themselves over to courtship and to romance and to marriage. It's not a healthy thing to do. Instead, we need to be celebrating the differences of the sexes rather than trying to make them all one. I have some feelings about this. I have some feelings. I have all kinds of feelings about this because I too have gone through, this phase of feeling like you've got to work hard, you've got to work more, you've got to do more, while also wanting to be a stay-at-home mom and being a stay-at-home mom. And, then the pressure of maybe having like a side hustle or a job on the side or balancing, when he's not working, then you work and all of this kind of stuff. It's a really difficult balance and a difficult thing that happens in girls' heads. Feminism has ruined movies because there's nothing worse than going to a movie that is like some action movie or something, and inevitably, there's some chick who's like a 4-star general or something and giving orders and, kicking ass and taking names and all that. And you're like, this isn't realistic at all. This doesn't make any sense because we know that even the strongest women can easily be defeated more often than not physically by shows of strength by some of the weakest men. And this is just factual. Men's strength is just naturally more increased and improved over even the females' efforts at being strong. So, and I for one can attest to this because whenever I was married, I had I still have them, but I had 2 stepsons, and they were teenagers whenever I was in their lives. And what was funny is I've always been a fitness girl. I've always been strong, and I've always enjoyed feeling strong and having a little bit of muscle. What's hilarious is like I would like pick at them and wrestle around with them a little bit. And I had to stop doing it because every single time I would do it, I would be the one who got hurt. And they weren't trying to hurt me. And I'm not weak. And I've got a pretty high pain tolerance. And yet they were like injuring me because they are just so naturally strong. And even at my strongest and fittest, I was naturally more weak than even teenage boys. And that was always very frustrating to me. But I can also appreciate it. And that's why I can say with great confidence that even strong women, we can take all the self-defense courses we want. We can learn all the moves. We can have the pepper spray and the guns and the knives and all of the things. But we're still not truly protected oftentimes unless you are with us, protecting us, because we cannot truly keep ourselves safe. Feminism has ruined chivalry, romance, dating, any of these aspects of kind of the courtship phase of life where we're trying to cull through the options that we have in the dating market in order to decide on a wife, decide on the mother of your children, decide on who you're going to spend the rest of your life with, ideally. It's ruined it because girls have much different expectations. I truly believe that before the feminist agenda truly took hold, it was all about choosing the man who would be the best provider, role model, leader for the family, who was the best respected by her family, and who had the best genetic options, the best breeding through generations, which you often knew because families stayed closer together then. They didn't travel far. Everyone knew one another and knew of one another. So things were a lot less about the romance of it all and a lot more about the practicality of the marriage and of the union. And then over time, you develop more love for one another and more mutual respect for what each of you bring to the relationship, what each of you bring to your parenthood. And you genuinely love and adore one another, but it's not because you saw one another across the room and wanted to fuck. It's a whole different ball game now that feminism has truly taken hold and ruined so many of our girls and just the feminine nature in general. I saw a quote that I thought was really interesting. We no longer, I'm trying to get the context of this so I can share it properly. I'm not going to share it. It's ruined marriage. I'm just going to move on. Feminism has ruined marriage as well, because this is a biggie. I need to put my notes down because this is a big one. Men work, but men are inherently lazy. Now, if you're watching this, you are probably not one of those men, but I need you to understand, in the grand scheme of things, men are incredibly fucking lazy. If they ever lived on their own and ever actually took care of their own stuff at any point in their lives, once they are in any kind of real relationship or marriage, they forget how to do all of those things. They no longer pick up after themselves. They no longer wash their own dishes. They no longer do a lot of the things that were just natural to them when they were on their own, or when they were trying to pick up women, let's say, when they were trying to cull through the options. So there's a saying that women are the biggest teenagers in the room. And I'm going to say women are the biggest teenagers emotionally. Men are the biggest teenagers physically. So along these lines of men not kind of taking care of their own stuff. And I'm not even saying that men need to be doing chores. I'm not saying that men need to be sharing the household load. I always loved the rule that like guys were in charge of the outside, like lawn stuff, and girls were in charge of the inside stuff. I think that's fair. I think that's a good rule of thumb. It's each of you kind of taking care of the part that's most important to you. I've never met a man who had a lawn that wasn't really proud of making sure it looks great. But inside the home, men go into big teenager mode. They, as a whole, again, I'm speaking generalities. If this is not you, don't get offended like a feminist. But they don't pick up after themselves. They don't contribute outside of bringing in an income. Yet, the marriages get ruined by feminism because men are also allowing this to happen. They're encouraging their women to work. They're encouraging them to bring in equal pay or as close to equal pay as they can. But even if it's not equal pay, and maybe even especially if it's not equal pay, they're encouraging the women to earn as much as they can, and yet it's often very little in relation to what they're earning. And it's taking a great deal of time away from the family and the children. No one, it leaves the children, if they're young, to be raised by preschools and things of that nature. You're paying for childcare. So essentially all of her income is going straight into making sure someone else is raising your children, which is a very strange concept. If they're of school age and they're in school, it's taking away from the family still, because she's at work while the kids are at school, assuming that that's how the schedule kind of works out, that's how the justification of her working works out. And yet then she picks the kids up from school, let's say, then she has all these errands to run and all these chores to do and all these things that should have and could have been done while they were in school, so that when they arrived home, everything was done. The household could be a happy, caring, nurturing place where everyone feels safe and secure. So this is a really dangerous kind of thing that men do to their own households, I think inadvertently, but it's because of feminism. It's because we've considered ourselves, we've convinced ourselves that we need as much income as we can in any way that we have to do it, in any way we have to do it. And oftentimes it's the children that fall by the wayside in this. And inevitably, I see more marriages fall apart and more relationships fall apart because of this, because the men have this expectation that the women are going to be able to work, usually full-time or close to. By the time, even if it's a part-time job, by the time commuting is checked off and all this, oftentimes it's essentially full-time hours outside of the home. But also, like I said, men are lazy. God bless you all. But so all of the chores that she could have and should have been doing and is expected to do are also still left to her on her shoulders. This makes women bitter. You're actually creating a household where a woman is angry because of this kind of mindset. Women are created to be nurturers and to be helpful to you. I do find it interesting. There's I will say one loophole. I'm not even going to call it an exception. It's a loophole to the women working outside of the home. And this is a really good one. So oftentimes, inevitably, it seems like she's a school teacher, but a girl will get her degree. She will go to work, let's say as a school teacher in this example, and the husband, because she is on the correct path and she met her future husband, her husband to be in undergrad, he goes on to continue education. He goes to law school. Let's say law school. It could be medical school. It could be dental school, whatever advanced degree kind of path that he is on. That's what we're going to call it, law school. The wife works while he continues that education. Then as soon as he is able to enter the workforce in that field, she stops working, period. That's when she can start having children. That's when she can create a household. That's when her nurturing self can nest, can create a home for you, and can raise your children and create that family that you two have put together. This is where the exception or the loophole exists, in that women working outside of the home in as high a position as they can receive based on their experience, their education, goes a long way. So she supports him while he is needing support. then, but usually this is like a 2 or 3 year period. It's usually not that long because it takes its toll on females, and we actually start to, our health degrades, the stress is too much. We don't do well balancing all of the expectations and all of the needs. Women are great multitaskers whenever it comes to family, when it comes to making sure that all 5 kids have their homework done, all 3 kids who are in sports or where they need to be at any given time. We're great multitaskers in those realms, in the realm that we were created to serve. But as far as working outside of the home, making a lot of money, stressing about how much things are costing, trying to balance a budget, trying to pay the bills, trying to think about when we're going to be able to start having children. All of this makes her crazy. She thinks she can do it. All women seem to think that they are capable of multitasking in this way, but our brains just short out. It is not healthy. And as much as women don't want to believe this, the only women that I know that are working and they have a house full and they're trying to be everything to everyone are frazzled beyond belief. They're always, and they inevitably drop balls right and left. They're missing appointments. They're having to reschedule. They tend to be kind of flaky because they genuinely just can't keep track of everything, no matter how organized they are. And women are pretty organized by nature because we have to be able to juggle those 5 kids and their schedules and their homework and their sports and what our husband's doing and when he's going to be out of town for work and when we have that gala that I have to get the dress for. And all of these things all play into great areas where women are great at multitasking, even though we're not great in other areas. Because of all of this, feminism has created a severe decline in our happiness because women fret by our very nature. And the more exposure that we have to the outside world, whether it be through work or because we're exposed to watching the news, or you're telling us about all the horrible things going on in the world, all of this stuff weighs on us. We don't let it roll off, or we don't process it the same way that men do. So whenever we are exposed to the real world, it makes us panic. We don't know how to process it. We don't know how to deal with it. We don't know what we can do about it, but we feel something needs to be done. So we take in all of this programming, let's say, and just like noise, and it has nowhere to go. So we don't process it well. And this is where, again, keeping women at home, keeping women protected. I love to say, people will ask me all the time, well, what do you think about this thing that's going on? Or did you see this shooting that happened here? And I always say, if this is something that I need to know about, either Fort Worth or my father will let me know. Otherwise, I don't want to pay any attention to it. I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to see it. I have no business knowing about all of the horrible things going on in the world and all the fear mongering that's happening outside of my happy little home. It would affect my children. It would negatively impact my family life. It would negatively impact my ability to be trusting and to be friendly with people and to be loving towards people. So I don't need any of that. If it's important, if I need to know that I need to be safe in one area or the other, or if I need to not go somewhere for a while, or if the weather's going to be bad, any of these things, I will be told by someone that I trust, by a man in my life that I trust. it goes against our ingrained nature for us to be filled with all of these images all the time and to be exposed to the risk. It makes us feel unsafe. And at our core, women are supposed to be feel secure in our relationship with our man, in our family life. We thrive on security. So if we are exposed to all of these outside things that feminism so badly wants us to know all about, like just pummels us with bad news all the time, this is making us incredibly unhealthy. And it's not a great way to live. And it's not healthy for your family either. So let me see. I've got a lot of notes here. I just kept writing. Yeah. I'm going to wrap up the feminism part of our conversation right now because I feel like I'm just like soapboxing at this point. But just know, I mean, I told you it was going to be like, it's kind of an angry topic. And it's kind of one of those that I don't even like talking about because I don't like things that make people angry. But it's something that you need to be aware of as far as your relationships and your with women in your life, but also with the daughters that you are raising. This is a critical lesson. You need to hold strong frame in your relationship and make sure that you're protecting the women in your world from idealizing this feminist agenda, because it's incredibly unhealthy for all the reasons that I've just spent 34 minutes talking about. You're welcome. Now, something very exciting having nothing to do with feminism is Fort Worth and I just this week decided how much fun it would be to have like a little bit racier Twitter handle. So what's funny about this is actually our Twitter handles started as like a racy, like, wouldn't it be fun to have this kind of joke that became one that people genuinely get offended if we get too racy. It's like, I talk about sex all the time. I don't understand why you're surprised by this picture. But I understand MPB is a certain brand, and it's about education and encouragement and frame and relationship and attraction and dating and sex. But you want to be able to have your Twitter open in front of family, maybe in front of the work, wherever you are, without always panicking about what might pop up on your screen. So because of that, I, for one, have stopped many years ago posting more erotic or arousing photos. And I don't mean of myself. I just mean like sharing things across the internet that I find. But they're actually quite valuable in pushing some of my teachings and my lessons and my, education. So I started Fuck Like a Pro. So at Fuck Like a Pro, Fort Worth is adding all of these links in the description or in the chat box so you can see it. Fuck Like a Pro is where I'm going to take my sex education to a next level. So there's going to be more photos. There's going to be more sharing of more kind of erotic stuff. There's going to be nudity. There's going to be sex. There's going to be all kinds of stuff. Again, this is not a personal porn channel, but it drives the point home of getting to the bottom of what's sexy, what works, and just kind of sharing stuff that I find arousing and intriguing myself. So if you don't have a problem with this kind of stuff coming across your feed, feel free to also subscribe over there at Fuck Like a Pro. Fort Worth also has CHATEAU, the Best of CHATEAU. Best of CHATEAU is the username. And it is going to be chock full of all of his favorite CHATEAU HEARTISTE quotes, which I really love. The maxims, the quotes, the lessons. I really am excited about this because Fort Worth has done extensive reading and research for over a decade now of CHATEAU HEARTISTE's work. and is really well versed in truly the best game writing there is. So if you also really enjoy timeless game lessons, follow Best of Chateau on Twitter, and that is Fort Worth. Fort Worth also started Game More Girls. That's the username, Game More Girls. It's all about having just extreme confidence, adjusting things wrong, extreme confidence with girls. So that could cover appearance, that could cover clothing, that could cover the way you carry yourself, fitness, if I didn't already say it, game, attraction, pickup, all of these things with a little bit more of a playful spin. So a Game More Girls is just a fun place to be. Now I've got 2 questions that have been sent in that I really want to get to. The first one is asking, he asked me if my Fuck Like a Porn Star book included tips on how men can last longer in bed. And it does not. However, the course will. So what's interesting about this, and I'll kind of get into, I'll still answer this question, but the course, if you have not purchased the course yet, you can buy the course. I'm sorry. If you have not yet purchased Fuck Like a Porn Star, the book, and have an interest, now is a great time to do it, because when you purchase the Fuck Like a Porn Star book, you get a $48 upgrade to the Fuck Like a Porn Star course, where we will go into more about lasting more in the sack, having just longer sexual sessions, and just having more sexual confidence. So if you take advantage of that discount, Fuck Like a Porn Star, the book, is actually free. If you have been a previous purchaser of Fuck Like a Porn Star, the book, then you should have also received a discount code that applies to the course, so that essentially making that Fuck Like a Porn Star book free as well. So it's a win-win. You're get to fuck like a pro and have the book and the course. It's amazing. It's going to be a lot of fun and extensive. The 21-day total immersion course is going to be absolutely kick-ass. And once it launches on June 1st, it will be evergreen from that point forward. But if you would like to last better in the sack, there are a couple of things to keep in mind. First of all, practice. Practice. Just have a lot of sex. Instead of the bundle, will you put the Fuck Like a Porn Star book up? Because that's where the upgrade to the course is. Baby. Yeah, thanks. So if you want to last better in bed, you need to fuck more. You just need to have more sex so that you're not getting so aroused so quickly that you're coming in a way that feels premature to you, no matter how long or short that is. Masturbation also helps. If you know yourself and know that you are going to get overly excited when she takes her clothes off, then go on and take care of yourself first before you see her. And then you won't be quite so gung-ho, so to speak. You'll be able to get back in there, but not kind of desperate too. But also, from a female perspective, I want you guys to know that whether you come fast and then recover and get back in there, or whether you last for hours in one stretch before you come the first time, we love it. We love it because, remember, at the very heart of sexual attraction is that you are giving us your attention in that moment. And that is truly our oxygen. I cannot stress this enough. Your attention is our oxygen. And that is what most females use sex for, is for the attention that it gets us. So even if a woman is not terribly high libido, she will use her her sexuality as a way of gaining attention. There is no difference there than in the bedroom. So if you come quickly the first time, snuggle, play, touch, keep in contact, you know, tickle each other, whatever it takes. And then as soon as you can, recover and start fucking again. Do that 2 or 3 times if you can. And over the course of your relationship, you will not come so quickly and you'll be able to last a little bit longer in bed. But also, she won't know the difference because as far as she's concerned, you guys fucked for 2 hours, whether it was 1 orgasm that you had or 5. She doesn't care. She just loves the elongated attention, and that is a huge, huge factor. Second question. My girl drinks 1 to 2 glasses of wine a couple of nights during the week. Then she drinks pretty heavily on the weekends when we go out or when we're with our friends. I'm concerned about this habit from a health standpoint, but I also think it's keeping her from her fitness goals. How can I get her to stop or cut back on her drinking? This is such a prevalent question. We should almost write a book on it, except it's actually a pretty simple answer in that, fuck yeah, it's a you know, derailing her health. It's derailing her fitness goals. It's making her inflamed and swollen all the time. You know, it's if she's not fitting in her clothing anymore and she's mad about it, but she's complaining while she has a glass of wine in her hand, that's a problem. A lot of times women also, they'll have a glass of wine as they're making dinner. They'll have a glass of wine with dinner, and they'll have a glass of wine after dinner. All told, home pours, that's an entire bottle of wine every night that they do it, while thinking to themselves, at least, and justifying to, let's say, their personal trainer, that they only have a drink. This is total rubbish. This is insane, and it's not healthy. I'm actually reading a really great book right now by Peter Attia. He's an MD. He's a genius. I've been listening to him for years. He's all about health and longevity and truly not just living forever, but like actually living as long as you can have the highest quality life that you can. One thing that he says, and he's not anti-alcohol, but he definitely poo-poos the research that 1 glass of wine is healthy, because the bottom line is that at its core, and I'm not going to say this nearly as well as he does, but at its core, alcohol is detrimental to the cells. So any amount of alcohol that you're taking in is not, in fact, healthy. You always have to keep in mind where the research is coming from, who is funding it. In the research that says that a glass of wine, let's say, for example, a day is a healthy thing, is probably just going, you know what? I'd rather you drink 1 glass of wine than 5. So let's tell them that, you know, they're like, they've got their little pen and their little research paper, and they're saying, okay, let's tell these people that it's healthy at 1, because relative to what they were drinking or relative to having 4 whiskey drinks, a glass of red wine, okay, we can take it. So keep all of this in mind, but at its core, even having a glass of alcohol of any kind on a daily basis is actually not healthy. It's detrimental to your cells. It makes you age. It makes you inflamed. It gives you all kinds of health and fitness problems. And it definitely derails your fitness successes that you could be having otherwise. We have so many personal training clients who work their asses off in the gym. And if they're not making any progress, we start kind of trying to carefully dig into what their alcohol consumption habits are like. And inevitably across the board, they drink daily. They may not admit that off the front end, but we start kind of picking through their stories and putting pieces together, and we realize they are actually drinking on a daily basis. And this is what keeps them from actually seeing major progress in weight loss, in strength, because they're not recovering, and they're inflamed and swollen all the time. You can't retain because of all the alcohol consumption, the inflammation that it causes, without seeing it in a detrimental kind of way in your health. So keep all of this in mind. A great way to encourage your girl to stop drinking so much is, unfortunately, you're going to have to do it with her. Girls will not do things like this on their own, but maybe make it a challenge. Maybe make it a couples challenge. And I say the best way to start is to say, let's just, for the month of May, or for this month, or for 30 days, or it's 4 weeks until our birthday, let's take this 4 weeks and not drink at all. You know, we'll kind of have to change things up because we like going down to our favorite bar on the weekends, and we like doing this, and we always have drinks there. You know, maybe we don't hang out with those friends for this week or this month because it's very hard not to drink when we're around them. Or maybe we don't do this pastime together or this hobby because it's really hard. It's just part of the culture to have a drink then. But if you can do this for 1 month, especially if you're doing it together, so you're kind of feeling and seeing the effects together, you can kind of circle back in your mind and go, man, I haven't woken up feeling this good in a long time. Or, man, I could actually see your abs. They look great. You know, it's amazing. I never realized that you were kind of puffy or inflamed, but now that we haven't had any alcohol for 7 days, I see a huge difference. You know, you can see it in yourself. You'll feel better. You will look better. You will have more energy. And then maybe, you know, you have a drink to celebrate your lack of drinking, but then you continue to cut back and keep it at a very bare minimum. Most of Fort Worth, and I say all the time, that most adult activities and hobbies are really just excuses to drink alcohol. From golf to disc golf, that's pot, sorry, to bowling, to crafting, to girls' nights out, all of the things that we do, sports, all sports watching, just across the board, all sports watching. All of these things are just adult reasons to drink without feeling like we're alcoholics. So avoid those kinds of things, retrain your brain, and feel the complete transformative difference in your body by not drinking for 1 month. It's remarkable. Okay, this week on the Bunny Interviews, I am interviewing, what is her handle? A handy ginger gal. She is super cute. She's super fun. She's had tons of different experiences. She's an expatriate from Canada, and she and her husband are just living a great life. I think in Costa Rica, somewhere tropical,
someplace warm,
somewhere far, far, far from Canada. Anyway, she's had lots of really interesting experiences. She's been on Twitter for a long time, so a lot of you guys are probably familiar with her. She's just an interesting human being, and I'm excited to have a conversation with her. She does everything from they have a music watch, like, reaction channel she and her husband do that's got over 100,000 subscribers on YouTube. It's a big deal. That she does cooking videos. She does home remodeling. She is definitely like a do it all kind of girl, which goes a little bit is a little counterintuitive to this conversation on feminism, but she's also very feminine. She's also, you know, wearing a lot of dresses. She loves her husband. She, loves her family. She does things around the home. All of this, I just think it's going to be a really great conversation. So if you would like to tune in on Tuesday or watch after the fact, even if you don't watch live, that would be awesome. I know it's going to be a great conversation. Also, next week is Mother's Day. Next Sunday is Mother's Day. So I will not be doing a bunny show live. I will actually be with my mother. And so I don't want to take that kind of time away from her in order to see you guys. But I will be returning the following week, and I will be right back here, same time, same place, on this Sunday show. I love our bunny church time together. I love that all of you join me live and after the fact. And as always, I am genuinely, sincerely, adoringly appreciative of Worth Playboy and all he does to keep the chat going, to making me look good, and to keeping me sane. He is my rock and my frame that I stay within. So thank you so much for joining me today. I appreciate it. As always, I want you to win. Bye.